just had to give a little shout out to the registrar. Thank you.
Anytime, we'll take it.
Next quarter, same time, we'll do it again. Good evening. Thanks. My name is Dewar, and I'm here tonight as the director of the South Coast Writing Project. The acronym is SCRIP. No T at the end. If you put the T at the end, we know you're an outsider and you're faking it. So, SCRIP. So I want to talk a lot about today, in 8 minutes, about some work we've been doing. And you can see from the title, I'm going to try to show you a really good recent example of something that we've been doing for about 40 years. We think it's the most powerful thing we can do in education. So if at the end you've got an idea, a really good idea that's 40 years old, and a recent example in your mind as you're sharing some wine, I will have been successful. So let's go. So what's this really good idea? That's a great question. But before I tell it to you, I have to remind you, it's a 40-year-old idea. That means it comes from the 70s. Remember the 70s? Bruce Springsteen wasn't even a rock star yet. He was just on his way up. How many of you were in school in the 70s? I was too. I was in junior high. Let's just keep moving on, okay? But it's this Newsweek cover that is the source of our concern for tonight. In the mid-70s, Newsweek had a cover that is famous in my field, English education, Johnny Can't Write. And it became a bit of a kerfluffle in the world. It represented a real concern. Students couldn't write. And suddenly, as happens in education, this was the dramatic thing that everyone needed to address. Well, some people did address it. And up at UC Berkeley, a man named Jim Gray, on the right in that picture, who did, at UC Berkeley, much what I do today. He worked with people who wanted to be secondary English teachers. And this talk of all this problem about writing didn't really ring true for him. He knew lots of great teachers. His former students, the cooperating teachers that they had learned how to teach with, who were great at teaching writing. So Jim Gray gathered a bunch of teachers together, brought them together for about 5 weeks in the summer, held them in a room at UC Berkeley until they could figure out, what do we know about this teaching writing stuff? Let's figure it out. Out of that summer emerged a set of practices and what I think is the most powerful educational reform effort that we've got. And that's the National Writing Project. The South Coast Writing Project is one of those sites. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some core principles and what the Writing Project is before I show you a recent kind of work that we do, an event that we do. So some of the key principles: Writing Project teachers, write. You wouldn't learn music from someone who doesn't play an instrument. If you're going to learn how to write, you've got to be a writer. If you're going to teach writing, you've got to be a writer. Writing's a powerful way to learn about writing. By writing, you learn how to write. It's also a powerful tool to learn about any subject, and that's part of what we advocate. The second principle is that teachers need to look closely at their own practice and share that practice with others, and go public with that practice to contribute to the professional field. No offense to my colleagues from the School of Ed, but we can't be the only experts. Teachers in the classroom have a kind of expertise that we need to tap if we're going to improve education. And thirdly, that knowledge is not held just by the veteran teachers down the hall, but it's held by all of us as teachers. It doesn't matter about your content area, it doesn't matter about what age students you teach, it doesn't matter even how long you've been teaching. You know things about what works in your classroom, and you need to share those with others so they can potentially build on them. The National Writing Project now, 40 plus years later, is a network of about 200 sites. There's a site in every state in the union, plus a few overseas. We are a real-world social network, and we're older than Mark Zuckerberg. What I mean by real-world social network is we come together by a shared interest, and that shared interest is how to improve the teaching of writing. And we share resources, sometimes physical resources, like, hey, here's this great piece of writing, you should read this, it's great. Sometimes it's ideas, sometimes it's conversation. But like the way that on virtual networks, people share, I don't know, cat videos, memes, it's silly stuff. We're trying to share stuff that's actually going to improve student outcomes. So that was then, 40-year-old idea, bringing teachers together to work closely and hard on what's working in the classroom to improve the things that aren't working. So that hasn't changed, and there's some other things that haven't changed. Bruce Springsteen, still on the cover of magazines. Of course, now it's Playbill. He's got a show on Broadway. I still wear silly shirts. That picture is a group of writing project people. We all have the matching shirts. And it's still hard to write. It's, even after 40 years, Jim Gray haven't quite cracked that. He may have been a little overly optimistic. It's going to take a little while longer. But I want to share with you now what the South Coast Writing Project is doing in a local group of teachers to try to improve student outcomes. It's called the Pathway Project, and it's a research and professional development partnership between South Coast Writing Project and Santa Barbara Unified. For the last 4 years, we've been working with secondary English language arts teachers in the Santa Barbara Unified School District to help them think about using what we call a cognitive strategies approach to teaching reading and writing. What do we mean by cognitive strategies? We want students to realize they have some tools they can use to think with when the writing and reading get really hard. Instead of just staring at the screen or crinkling up the paper, there's things they can do. The metaphor of a toolbox and tools is what we're trying to help the teachers think about what they can share with their students. We're in partnership with 3 other writing projects, UCI, Cal State LA, and Cal State San Marcos. Again, part of that network of teachers working together to move student progress. So there's a research aspect. Luckily, the time is so short, there's not going to be many numbers. Here they are, though. Whoa, that reformatted offline, but that's okay. So each year we had teachers do a pre-test and a post-test on an on-demand writing example. And what we were hoping was that the teachers in the professional development, their students' scores would gain more than the teachers who were just doing what they've always done, right? So we've got control teachers. After 1 year, hey, there was an improvement. We were a little bit happy. We were not super excited. It's not a big gain. But we did notice that some of the teachers had really large gains, and we tried to look at what were they doing. And they were implementing more of what we had advocated, and they were developing their own ideas and implementing. So we went into the second year, and we saw a huge gain that year. After 2 years of working together, the average gain was about the grade equivalent. Imagine go from like a C to a B in 1 year, whereas the other teachers were getting about like C to C+. So we're really excited about those results. And for 2 years, we had program teachers and control teachers, and then you may be wondering, well, what about those poor control teachers? When did they get to learn? Starting last year, we started working with the control teachers, and in 1 year, we see this nice gain, about half a grade equivalent in 1 year of program. We're working this year with them as well. In their second year, we expect to see continued gain. And this fall, we also started a third cohort of teachers in Santa Barbara Unified, who are teachers who have started in the district since we started, or did not initially consent to be a part of it, or, and we're most excited about this, a group of special education teachers who are co-teaching in regular ed classes, so that we're getting this interplay of regular ed teachers and special educators to talk about what works for all of the students in the classroom. So that's the current example of a really good 40-year-old idea. I need your help. If you think this makes sense, come talk to me afterwards. If you can't stick around, my contact information is there. Because one of the features about the writing project I haven't mentioned is the way this work gets funded is local sites leverage a little bit of local money and a lot of national or state money. And you can imagine, if you've been paying attention to the budgets, it's hard to get that money. In fact, Title II, which is currently zeroed out of the budget proposal, is the primary funding for this kind of work. That work, Title II, part of Title II, is to fund professional development for teachers. Maybe you don't want to support script, but please support the professional development of teachers. Thank you very much.